Hello.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going? I'm Objectively Dan. That's Prophet Azad. And this is going to be a weird one, ladies and gentlemen. The vibes are different. Different. We both mutually decided that we're not even going to do the intro tonight. I think it just wouldn't fit with the tone of the show because you already know. You already know what's happening. You already know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, we don't want to be a giant bummer, don't want to like have no fun. But when I try to picture what we're all talking tonight and what the general mood is, having us come in, tease it, play silly music, and then fade in from that just feels weird. And I wouldn't know how to carry the conversation after that. So we're just going to kind of go cold into this. We do have at least one person saying you need the intro theme tonight. Sorry if that's
Well,
the case.
how about maybe a little later? Maybe if we feel we should just play it like in the middle of the show. How
It'll
funny would
it'll be
that
an
be, actually?
intermission.
Yeah, that okay. All right, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Let's make an
Well,
intermission. It's too
one
weird to
thing
do
we
right now.
one thing we had talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and Dan knows this is true no matter what he says after I'm done talking.
Mm-hmm.
Dan said that as a substitute he would sing the song for us.
Oh, this is one of those things where you say a thing and I say yes and I guess I could do that. I guess I could do that. Here's a little behind the scenes, okay? You know, every week we kind of have a routine now. Me and Zog, it's like, okay, we get Thursday done, cool. I stream Fridays, sometimes Sundays. We got the weekend stuff, so we reconvene pretty much every Monday. And it was Monday, and it was like, look, I can't think of anything to talk about this week that isn't going to be dwarfed by the election. So I think we need to see how the election shakes out. And so I was like, yeah, I think the same thing. I said, cool. And then the election happened, and then I don't know. Maybe it's because I was hungover the next morning. But it's just been a sad week, I guess. It's like I can't even focus. I'm like not doing as good at work right now because it's like it's all I can think about, right? I don't know. What is there to say?
Yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Mm,
I I'm starting to pick up a little bit tonight or this afternoon or evening. I felt a little closer to normal, but I thought, yeah, the thinking was this Monday we're like, elections tomorrow. Whatever happens, it's going to be on everybody's mind. I pictured that we'd still be like sifting through results, or everything might still be riding on a razor thin margin by this point. A lot of news commentators had said, don't expect to know anything too early before the weekend. So I thought we'd have a narrow victory one way or the other. My gut told me Harris, uh, even though I was very nervous because it was really hard to know. But I had no idea that uh, we would have a traditional, very decisive victory for Trump night of. And I'm not going to lie, I was like in a, that was a ball of nerves and just lethargic and couldn't concentrate. And I say that just because most of the rest of you, or a lot of the rest of you, are probably the same way, unless you're a Trump supporter, in which case, not even sure why you're here. You should probably be off somewhere thinking about what you did. But it's not really a good thing.
yeah. No, it feels worse because in 2016, like Trump was still kind of a wild card in some respects, right? Like you just didn't know, right? And now like we know. Like we've seen it.
Yeah.
It's already happened. And they're talking very openly and actively about what they want to do. And it's just not good for anybody.
Yeah.
And especially not even for the people who voted for him. So I will say this, it's not our job to get Kamala Harris elected, right? It's not our job. That's her job. Her campaign obviously fucking failed. And we try our best as activists to advocate for the issues that we care about. And we do fucking more. And the people in this community, I know, do fucking more than Joe Blow that lives down the street, right? So I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I did my part. I've done more than enough to advocate for the things I think are important and talk to people about. Have been doing this for a long time. So I have to rest with that. That's where I'm at. It's like, look, I tried. I tried, right? But it's not up to me. It's about the will of the people. And this is what we get, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and there are a couple hard things about this. Number one, there's going to be a vengeful attitude coming into this.
Mm-hmm.
They are unhappy. Historically, it seems like fascists don't usually win the first time. They have a pretty significant setback and then they come back. But yeah, also there is the whole thing about the conventional wisdom is that there aren't going to be guardrails on him like there were last time. He's been told that he's basically immune from legal responsibility for his actions, and he's going to surround himself with people who are going to do what he wants them to do. The other side of it is, I think this aligns with what you were saying, Dan. People know this time. Like before, you could look at what happened and say, wow, this was weird. What kind of quirk led to this? Did people just want a weird outsider and he managed to squeak a weird electoral college thing? Was there some Russian interference in it? You can ask all these questions. Now, this just showed he's what a lot of people want, and he laid everything bare and was extremely clear about it, and people still voted for him. And that to me just reveals something about the character of our country, character of people who are around us every day. And that's I don't know why everybody voted for him. A lot of people probably had some vague sense that he was this brilliant businessman who was going to save our country. I don't know. People get sucked into strongman rhetoric for a lot of different reasons. I don't think they're necessarily all hateful, but something is disconnected or off unless you're just a hugely low information voter.
Mm-hmm.
When he can spend especially within the last few months, it's just been utterly madness. Like I don't see how anybody can watch him and think that he should be in charge of anything, both in terms of his temperament, his message, what he repeatedly says he wants to do once he's in charge, but then also just his mental capabilities. Like he's in weird decline, and I don't know how much he's gonna, I don't know how long he's gonna be in condition to run the country. And problem is, next person in line is no better. So
yeah, you said I'm of two minds of what you just said, because on the one hand, it doesn't actually seem like.
By the way, sorry, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Shiver just said can't do this tonight. I'm too upset. I will say real quick, if you need to, that's fine. Anybody who can't be here for this, not everybody. I personally have listened in spurts to things about current events and then just shut it off and listen to distractions. I probably listened to more just complete nonsensical distractions the last couple of days. So if you simply can't be here, definitely feel free to leave. What we're talking about now, we want to regroup. We want to give people a chance to just hear us acknowledge what's going on. And then, maybe we can lighten the mood a little bit as this goes on, but this might not be for everybody. If it's not for you, no hard feelings, no explanation needed. Just go do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah. On that note, there was a small part of me that was like, maybe we should just not talk about it at all. But I mean, I know it's all I've been able to think about this week.
Yeah.
And I know it's what everybody else has been thinking about. I think it'd be weird if we just pretended like it didn't happen, because it did.
Yeah. I don't want to spend this whole time being a bummer.
No.
But I think if we don't acknowledge the reality, then it's just hanging over everybody. And so
I think we might be able to move on later, but we do have some thoughts, I think. And this is one thought I had from what you were saying earlier. Like, again, I'm of two minds, because it doesn't seem like numbers wise that Trump and his voters were actually significantly shown more in the polls. There were less Democratic votes, right? Like way less so than
Yeah.
2020. So people just didn't like Kamala as much. Really, I think is part of it. Like Kamala just wasn't as appealing to people. She wasn't as motivating enough for people to vote. I think those people are wrong. And by the way, I think if you vote for Trump, you are, and I posted on my Facebook for like the first time since I got engaged, saying I think if you voted for Trump, you are morally unconscionable, right? Like that is just, you know, unthinkable. It's one thing if you don't vote for Harris. Uh, it's another thing if you actively vote for Trump, right? Like I just don't. There's no way. That's not the right choice in any context. So I think you're wrong if you did that. But you like at the same time, people didn't show up for Harris, and I think her campaign sucked. And there was some hope in the beginning because it seemed like she was going to break away and do new stuff, and then she just fucking didn't. You know, she's talking like Liz Cheney. She's talking about like, oh, if we give, we're going to give $50,000 in small business loans for people and stuff like shit that doesn't fucking affect you and me and we don't care about. A lot of people have said this. It wasn't the working class wasn't motivated by this. There was just a huge disconnect here, and I guess it didn't inspire people enough to vote. Those people should have voted anyways, in my opinion. But that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's about advertising. Campaigning matters more, not principles, right? At least in this country at this point in time. So,
What surprises me, I didn't necessarily feel much specific enthusiasm for Biden or Harris.
mhm,
I th- I'll take that back a little bit. I felt some enthusiasm for Harris getting swept up in the moment, but it was mainly excitement for an alternative to Trump.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
so, but
it's lesser harm stuff.
what I'm really surprised by was that was even relevant. That people who came out to vote for Biden, I would think the main reason they came out for him was just for an alternative to Trump. And I would
Mhm.
have thought that there was more urgency about that this time even than last time. And I don't know where that disconnect was, but it was there. So, yeah, I don't want to just sit here mulling over this and just sitting stuck in the mud and being sad. I think there, but I don't know. I think it's important to acknowledge that we do feel that way. If this is the way you're feeling, number one, it's a little normal. There is real reason to be nervous and anxious, even afraid. But I think it's important to know, number one, that you're not the only one going through that. And it's a normal emotional process. Sometimes when things like this hit you, you don't fully know what to do with it. It's just purely a feeling that comes over you, and it's easy to get lost in and to let your mind take you down rabbit holes. That doesn't mean that this isn't extremely bad, but we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I don't see there being a lot of checks on Trump's power. But who knows? Who knows what this is going to look like? It won't be good. But really, when it comes down to it, it sounds trite, but all you can do is take it day by day and take the best actions you can. And don't get too caught up in your initial emotions. It's a little bit like grieving. It feels a little bit like grieving to me. You have that first initial shock. I felt a little better for a while today. I probably will feel worse at other times. And it's the same way for you. I think it'll be that way for most of us. We'll have days where we feel more normal, but at some point we are going to reach the place where we start to see tangible things happen, and we're just going to have to react day by day. And I think right now, when we see the results and come to terms with what it means, uh, the big, huge wave of uncertainty can be one of the hardest things to deal with. But one thing I would say is don't let anybody minimize what you're going through. I'd say
Mhm.
try to keep a sense of perspective. Um, but also don't there can be a mentality, especially in mixed company, where people are just like, it was an election, everybody shake hands, it's over, it is what it is, move along and don't overreact. I don't think anybody has a right to tell you that you shouldn't be fearful, that you don't have actual cause to be afraid of what might happen. I don't think anybody should tell you that you shouldn't have any suspicions about the character of people who voted for Trump, or wonder what their intentions are or what their mentality toward you is, if they have a spiteful or vengeful streak to them. I think you don't want to judge people automatically, but it's okay. This is a really weird thing. It is weird that this many people voted for him, and it's okay to wonder what that means about people in your life and how they fit in your life. And it does mean something, especially if they enthusiastically voted for him. So, find community in something, whether that's here or in groups in real life. Find people that you can talk to about this. Hopefully you can pull yourself and others out of just pure, utter hopelessness. You have to face things realistically, but you also have to find something other than just sitting deep down at the bottom and not knowing what to do. And hopefully you can at least normalize what's happening and what's going to happen to a degree, and just be ready to take the best action you can. And I honestly don't know what other than that to say. I usually feel like I have my feet on the ground pretty well. I have not felt serious anxiety in a long time. And following Tuesday night, I've gotten there for the first time in many, many years. And I haven't been able to. I don't know what my channel is going to look like. My main channel is going to look like in the near future, because I can't bring myself to sit here and write scripts. I'm probably going to rethink what kind of content I do or what I release, because it doesn't, what we're talking about and the tone of how we address religion, number one, it can start to become possibly hazardous to speak out in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, simply taking irreverent, smart alecky jabs at the substance of religion, that has its place. I'm not sure that it's going to have the same place in a society where, in a post-Trump society, basically. And yes, Nitty, you use our voice until they censor us. I totally agree with that. I'm not saying that we should not speak out. I do think that each and every one of you need to take care with how you express yourselves. Don't compromise your values, and don't fail to be of help to people that you can. But I think you also need to take a little care with what you say and where, and what you engage with on the internet. At some point, you have to take your personal safety into account. But I'm talking more, I don't think the same kind of content that we've been making, or the same kinds of conversations we've been having about religion, are going to be as relevant in the future. I think there are going to be things we need to talk about and ways we need to express ourselves, as long as we have the ability to. But I think we're going to need to pivot a little bit in terms of how we how we address the nature of religion and the nature of social issues and politics, and how it impacts our lives. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. And to be honest, depending on the frame of mind I'm in, I'm not sure where I'm at in terms of knowing how to make that pivot and being able to pull myself together well enough to do it. So that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think the direction is a direction that at least I've tried to take for the majority, if not all of my time on the platform, which is just like questions of theology, contradictions. I mean, to me, that stuff's been done. That's tried. That's out there. There's resources out there. Great people have made the stuff out there. I don't need to add to that pile. The pile that I think I need to add to is the deconstruction of the social power that comes with the dynamic of religious people in this country, right? Like Christian nationalism is our next threat, right? It's not apologists, although they are minions of Christian nationalists oftentimes. So in some ways, but that's the foot soldiers. I'm talking about the fucking real billionaires in power that are going to be shaping the laws and the forces at power to do what they want us do what they want to do, right? Like abortion is fucking done, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not going to change. There's no pathway for that right now. The next thing we do is resist, I think, for these other changes as much as we can. Because we are going to lose more things. I think it's going to be more than just putting fucking Bibles back in schools. Although you can expect that. It's going to be like, should we be putting people into fucking camps? I really think it's going to be that way. Like, should we allow trans people to exist? It's going to be like the trans question. That's
Yeah.
seriously what it's going to be. I think it's going to be the people who don't fit into that white Christian heteronormative scope. You know, like I'm like I have a nose ring. Okay, that's the most alternative thing about me. Otherwise, my personal body, I'm privileged, right? I have to use that privilege to my advantage as much as possible, and other people need to too, because there is still a social power that respects that on some level, right? Like you have to kind of play into that. I don't know. Otherwise, what the fuck else can we do, right? I don't know. I'm just I'm spiraling here, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've spiraled a bit. Like I said, for the last half of this day, I felt relatively more normal, and I can't explain why I feel that way. But I think, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's hard to do, but I think you need to do whatever it takes to keep you from spiraling too hard. You're going to feel afraid, and again, it's going to come and go, but I think one of the best things you can do, number one, if you can seek out some kind of either someone to talk to, or just or even like some kind of counseling, if you have access to counseling,
Mhm.
just talk through this and just get in tune with your emotions. That's one of the best things you can do, is just learn yourself a little better, learn what's setting you off and why. There are obvious circumstances that we're up against that we can't fully change. We are very out of control of our circumstances,
Mhm.
but your emotions can just make it worse, both in terms of what your experience is like and how negative it is. We are going to go through negative things. That's just a fact of life, and that's a fact of what the coming years are probably going to be like. But it can be better if you're not totally drowning in grief and fear, and just if you're not just feeling completely lost and bottomed out. And so whatever you need to do to get a hold of that, I think, is very important. But then even just for your own personal well-being, in terms of planning and stuff, you got to get your feet on the ground well enough to recognize this is bad, but I can do things to make it better, or at least less bad might be a way to put it.
Mhm.
If you can, I mean, an obvious thing, people like to talk about leaving the country. Not everybody is going to have the ability to do that. But if you, just using it as an example, if you could get your passports and everything up to date, look into possible travel plans, or if that looks more like finding a social finding a social network, or, I hate to say it, but for some people, hiding certain parts of yourself for a period of time might be the safest thing for you, depending on whether, I mean, if that means not mouthing off about religion or politics in front of your family members, depending on where you live or at work. I hate to
Yeah.
tell people not to be themselves, but in every situation, some of us are in a position where we can speak out more, and that does more harm than good. Other times, you're going to be doing nothing but causing yourself trouble. So all those things, there are some preparations you can take to make your life better, and grounding yourself a little bit if you can. I totally understand if that's difficult. It's difficult for me. These last couple days are the first time that I've just felt helpless to really pull myself together, much less be of any good to anybody else. And fortunately, by tonight, I think I've more or less gotten there, at least for the
Mhm,
time being. It always comes in waves. I think part of this is grief. We're grieving the fact that our lives aren't going to be what they used to be in one way or another, and that's combined with stress. So just know that what it is and get acquainted with it. I'm probably dangerously close to quoting something from Dune, but just recognize what it is and face up to it, and then work with that part of yourself. And I don't know. It's easy. Some of
yeah,
this is easy for me to say. We're all going to have a harder time in this environment. Uh, I have an identity that's mainly been expressed online that could become unfortunate, but I have nothing near the identity of an LGBTQ person, especially a transgender person or an immigrant or a black person. There, I'm demographically, I'm in about as privileged a place as I could possibly be, and
yeah,
so I don't want to be overly dramatic about it or speak as if I can relate to everybody's fears right now.
yeah.
But I think there is a common thing we can all relate to, even if it just helps us. I don't
I
know.
mean, as atheists, we could be fucked too.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
of ways we could be fucked. Um, but like, kind of like I was saying earlier, if um, if I could change our movement, if I could tell everybody in our community what to do, make content about, help people, I would say it's not, you know, Ken Ham isn't the problem. Like the Heritage Foundation is the problem. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we got to talk about bigger fish than the fish in the barrel that we sometimes shoot. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of other wider social issues that are going to be way, way, way bigger of a deal, right? Than I don't know, whatever the fuck you, me, and everybody else fucking talk about every other week. I don't know. We have some super chats. I think we should read those. We
Yeah.
got one earlier in the night from Alan Showerman. Gave $20.24. Thank you so much for that. Saying, remember like 20 years ago when the 4th episode of Lost aired and the twist ending was widely held as like the 3 best minutes in TV. Well, Baggy cussing and Trump then becoming president was a bigger twist and worse TV. You know what? I agree with you. I agree
You
with you.
agree?
Hmm.
I think someone else agrees too.
Oh no.
Fuck
Oh no. It's happening.
yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. We have jumped the shark.
I think this show needs a little baggy.
A little bit. Sure, bring
Let's
him
get
in.
these super.
Bring him in.
Baggy will breed the rest of the super chats. That'll warm
Come here,
up
Baggy.
Baggy.
Yeah, Baggy. Come on, I got another one for you. From Connor Runda. Gave $5. Read that.
Here's a quick dopamine hit before. Excuse me. Somehow I had to clear my throat when Baggy was
Oh,
talking.
it's kind of weird. You should stop doing that while Baggy's trying to talk. So that's kind of rude.
Yeah. How rude. Sorry. Okay. Here's a quick dopamine hit for you both before shit gets real. Oops, I made a swear. Thanks for both of your work. Cheers, but in Irish.
Thank you. I love that. That needs to be a thing. Cheers, bud, in Irish, because we can't fucking say the real shit. That's awesome. Wait, I think that's new Zodonite canon. Oh, I had a thought, by the way. One solution that we could have, Zod, is we could just become sovereign citizens. Hear me out. Okay. If we declare our own country of Zidania, America's laws are not going to apply. You understand? We are free people. So maybe we all just need to like come up with a system. We can like print out little cards. I can laminate them of like, here's your citizenship, right? And we're just, that's it. We win, right? They can't touch us. It's illegal in Zidania, which is where we are. I don't know. Just a thought. Put a pin in that. Okay.
Sounds
Then
good.
we got another super chat from Alana Shano, Silver Bow. $10. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, go ahead, take it away, Baggy.
Describing it like I am not really up for the high-pitched voice right
Oh
now.
no.
Describing it like grief is very on point. I am stunned that so many Americans could vote for ... That man. YouTube would not like my description of him, and I suspect the Lord wouldn't either. Thank you both for the work you do. I'm not sure if Baggy is getting more southern as this goes on.
Thank you for the work you do, partner. I like that. A little southern Baggy.
I
That can be
appreciate that. Thank you.
a Baggy family member of some kind. You know, I was gonna say baguette, but that's a French kind of thing. Baguette or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, this surprised me too because like I shouldn't be because America's a fucking racist country and a misogynist country, and it is like that, probably always will. But it is kind of shocking. Like after everything, right? Again, like 2016, still not good, right? Not good. But it's been 8 years. There's 8 years of shit to look at, and just like not enough people care. And that is kind of shocking, I think. One more, I think right now at least. Jay Victor, 20 reals, rupees,
Yeah, I
20
think it's real.
R's. Thanks for that.
I expect the Trump administration itself to be a mess. Trump is an egomaniacal who refuses to listen to people who know better. I'm more worried about what the kind of people who will get empowered by him getting elected.
Yes. Agreed. Hard agree. I'm worried about this fucking cabinet. Guys, Elon Musk might be in charge of portions of the federal government. That's not a meme. Like RFK Jr., the guy who had worms in his brain, is going to tell us to get ivermectin and hydrochloroquine and take
And
fluoride out of the water.
The saddest thing about that is those worms are probably the smartest things in his head.
I like it's just it would be so fucking funny if it wasn't sad. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all the super chats we got right now. Thank you guys for supporting us. But
It's really hard to say what this is all going to look like. In isolation, this looks like an egomaniacal madman surrounding himself with basically a Spectre level table of Bond villains, and that it's just going to be fully out of control. I would not discount, though, the fact that there will be some checks on that, at least at first. I think there is going to be some realistic resistance possible within the federal government, by the states to some extent, depending on what state you live. This is going to vary a lot depending on what state you live in and what your state government does in response to a lot of this stuff. And the fact is, this is a bad thing, but in a way, it's kind of a good thing. There are mature adults pulling the strings behind a lot of this. And I'm not 100% sure. Trump, I think, is largely a useful idiot. And I don't think that these people are happy to see a lot of people suffer in order to make their lives better and to add to their fortunes. But I don't know that they're going to let this weird squad of morons just completely run everything into the ground to the extent that they can help it.
Oh yeah.
And the one of the clearest examples, I think, is tariffs. I don't think the shadowy evil people in charge are going to let Trump tank our economy with insane tariffs on everything entering. I might be wrong, but I think there are people who have a vested interest and enough power, probably more power than Trump behind the scenes, who aren't going to let that happen. And I think there are other things that are like this. So a lot of this problem, this is going to be accelerated, but some of this stuff could be more incremental and have aspects of resistance to it. So I don't think that, January 21st, we're all just flying straight off the edge of a cliff. It's going to be a lot darker for some of us than for others. It is going to be dark, but I don't necessarily think it's all or nothing. I think it's a little bit hard to predict because I think there will be tension and there will be pushback, not nearly as much as there should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The fear with Trump is who he empowers. He emboldens people to do violent
Yeah.
things. That's Trump's thing. The man himself is obviously, I mean, he's lost it, but like that's what the true fear of Trump. It's never been, what he and his nefarious plans are gonna do. It's fucking JD Vance and the people he fucking surrounds himself with, right?
He's a drooling moron at this point. I mean, if you've been watching him, he's what the right says that Biden was. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know that he's cognitively completely there. By the way, I'm a little behind in saying this, but if you are posting stupid things in the chat, I am just going to block you right away, and I'm going to do that without apology, because with what's going on right now, the state of mind people are in, I don't need jackasses talking about, well, what about the censorship of Biden? You just go off and fuck yourself somewhere else, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I co-sign. That's an official act. Official act of the first motion of the state of Zedania, by the way. So
we're here. The way I see this is we're here in a room we're regrouping with all of you guys as people who hang out with us every week, and just think of this as us sitting in a room having whatever conversations we need to feel like having. And some of it's acknowledging dark reality. Some of it is just listening to each other and empathizing. None of that is morons coming in here and trolling us with, well, no, you guys nonsense. Just you're welcome to your freedom of speech. We're willing to push back and forth in ideas, but this isn't the time or place any more than I walk into a church in the middle of a prayer meeting and start shouting that God's not real. It's just not always the time and place.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still in a grieving state of mind, I feel like.
Yeah.
I
think I am too. I'm just not feeling it quite as much in the moment. It'll hit me all of a sudden again.
Mm-hmm. I was fucking angry yesterday. I was so mad. So mad. And now I'm just sad. Yeah, it's hitting me. It's really bad. But maybe we should move on. Should we talk about more fun stuff? I can read some jokes.
Hang on one thing real quick, okay?
Yeah. Okay, while he's doing that. Ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry. Our cold open ran a little long this time.
God damn. Bro, that was like a refreshing cold drink of Fanta. That was crazy. I didn't expect that. That was awesome. Thank you.
Wow. I hope we really hooked you with that cold open.
Yeah. That wasn't just a cold open. That was a subarctic open. Like that was crazy. Gotcha. Today we're gonna be talking about Brad Stein.
Oh, speaking of, hang on.
That was funny. That was fucking funny. Damn, he got me so good. Holy shit.
Couple Brad Stein books came in the
So Zod did what I could not do or failed to finish and got some Brad Stein literature. Have you read it? Have you looked at it?
No, they literally were on my front porch when I came in today.
Okay, great. So look forward to that.
Rants from America's Christian conservative comedian, How to Think Right, with a Jesus bobblehead. Nice and reverent there, Brad Stein.
Oh, great.
And then smuggest Brad Stein face you could possibly imagine. Sorry, part of the book's a little bit blue. Being a Christian without being an idiot. 11 assumed truths that make us look stupid.
Bro, hold on. Put that cover up to the camera again. Look at that fucking mug. Oh, that's so gross.
Here, let me oops, sorry.
I hate that. It's on point for Brad though.
There you go. You can see a little better now.
Damn. Oh yeah. Okay. Ah, that's good. I knew that was the right call. We gotta do that. All right. Not today, obviously. We gotta read it, but oh, that's awesome.
Can y'all pass those around to the group when you're done reading them videos?
That'd be awesome. We come up with a little library system. We like stamp it to every new person. We have another super chat too, real quick, from Punk Metal Tao. Gave $5 and said, "A lame joke to lighten the mood. I'm short. My mother was a gourd. My father a hound. I'm a little melancholy." Wow. Wow. Thanks. Thanks for that. That's pretty good. I like that. Oh man, if there's one joy, one simple joy I can take away from this life, Zod, it's that I can always make fun of Brad Stein. Always, always till the day I die, he'll always be a source of smug contempt for me to, just gaze upon, I guess. Really, really bring it in. I don't
There's
know.
just something especially delicious about Brad Stein telling us what makes Christians look like idiots.
That's so true. You're right. You're so right. Oh, yeah, you're so right.
He was just sitting here making Christianity look all dignified and academic, and
Yeah. That does make
with
me
his
feel a little bit better that
big
we do get to
smart
talk about
face, Professor Brad Stein.
Professor Stein. He's going to educate us. That's super cool. That's really great. Ah, man. All right. Well,
I would give Brad Stein no thumbs up because I don't have thumbs, and also he's a jackass.
yes. Thanks, Braggy. Wow, you're speaking the truth. That's crazy that you would say that of all puppets. You know, if anything, I would expect you to be enraptured by him, but I guess not.
Okay, Dan,
No.
Dan, Dan,
Yeah.
Dan, Dan, Dan,
Mm-hmm.
Dan, 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 Dan.
Why are you looking at me like that,
I
Braggy?
might be a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Uh huh.
I might have turned a little MAGA,
Got a little saucy. Yeah, I was there.
but seriously, Brad Stein, give me some credit.
All right. I'm glad you have standards, Baggy. I'm glad that that's the bottom. That's the line that you refuse to cross. I respect that. I do.
Do you
Yeah.
think do you think Trump would let that fucking moron in his cabinet?
Dude, what if he did
he
though?
Trump
There's a
Trump Trump
yeah.
might let that guy who, spent $45 billion on Twitter and flushed his money down the toilet.
Okay,
He might
Baggy.
put him in charge of government finances.
Okay,
He
Baggy.
might put that brainworm guy who saws the heads off whales in charge of health. But do you really think he's gonna put Brad Stein anywhere near the capital of the United States?
Baggy. Wow. I didn't realize this was such a principled issue for you. That's crazy. So, I mean, how funny. Okay, this would be funny. The alternate timeline where Brad Stein is somehow relevant and people care besides literally just you and me, where Brad Stein gets appointed to government, what would he be in charge of?
Secretary of Education.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. Definitely part of the education department. No doubt. No doubt. He would enforce a homeschool curriculum. He'd be like, public schools are done. Everybody has to homeschool. That's what he would say. And he would have like a curriculum with just his face on it. It's just his books. uh that's sick. Hell yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Um I was unironically telling Zod because like I feel like every time I bring it up, people like it. But it's like, we could like play some video games. I got Cilantro. I got like that shotgun roulette game. That might be fun because like we never do that kind of stuff on the stream, and I feel like it would be a fun thing for us to like kind of I don't know.
Shotgun roulette?
Yeah, you ever heard of that? Or it's no, a buckshot roulette. That's what
Oh,
it's called. Yeah.
what is that?
Um, it's it's quite a vibe. But Russian roulette, right? Imagine
Never
that.
tried it.
Never tried it, but you know about it. Imagine that, but like with a shotgun, obviously. And like there's like items and stuff. You gotta like you take turns basically deciding whether you want to try to shoot yourself or shoot your opponent. And you just gotta outlast them. That's it. It's
Oh,
pretty fun. It's a little graphic, but that's the thing.
I don't know if I should be offended by this. Clueless gamer style with Zod commenting on Dan's
See,
playstyle.
that'd be funny. I think that's funny, personally. But I don't know. We can do whatever. We didn't really have a plan after this topic because one, we didn't know how long it was going to take, right? And two, like so I don't know about you. I did not have the fucking energy to think about anything else, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean the title of this is like so nothing is creative as far as how this was set up. I was like a zombie last night, just making a thumbnail and setting this up and stuff. I'm all better now, though. I think I'm fully recovered mentally and emotionally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quick. Okay. Cool. Well, that's great. Good for you.
No, I got a message. I just check in with people from time to time. I don't think he'd care. I'm not going to identify him. He was even willing to be on this show, but I talked to a family member about just how he's doing, checking in with people. He said, "I'm actually doing pretty well." I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." And he said, it's better. I'm feeling better now than I did in 2016." He said just because he had some time to get used to the whole idea, and he's just in the mentality of all I can do is take it one step at a time. He thinks there are some things that might contain this problem, but he's like, it's gonna get bad, but all I can do is do my duty as a citizen, as a person, and see what comes. And that's really what we all have to get to. I mean, you can't. It's like the analogy of cars going over a bridge. You ever heard that one?
The analogy of cars going over a bridge?
Yeah.
No, I
It's
guess
just
not.
like if there's like 200 cars that have to drive over a bridge, you let them go over one at a time. If you pile them all on all at once, it's going to fall apart. You just have to, the moment the election happens, if your mind just sits there and puts all 200 cars on the bridge at once, it's going to feel extremely overwhelming. But if you just take one day at a time, let one car zip over, not going to say the bridge is never going to collapse. Not going to say you can't always control the number of cars, but do what you can to, get yourself right today and plan as
That's
much
a
as you
crazy
can.
fucking bridge. Somebody should do something about that bridge, son. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm
oh.
coping right now. That's what I'm doing. No, I
Okay.
think you're right.
Okay. I think
Oh, you get the analogy
would
wrong.
Brad Stein be better as Secretary of Education, or should we put him
Or
in charge of
Department of
infrastructure?
He really fucking cares about rebuilding America's infrastructure. He's all about it. We got to have he's like super into renewable resources, obviously. He's all about that. No, I know. Let me give you a real response because you're right. We have to find healthy ways regardless. We have to cope. We got to figure it out. You got to go to the gym. You got to take care of yourself. You got to eat. You got to, you know, spend time with friends. You got to find a place to be happy because this is where we are. And you know what? At least right now, nothing has happened yet, right? Enjoy this now because that's what we have to do. I guess the dread, right, is kind of a problem. But there are objectively worse times to live in history for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Now I'm just coping. Sorry, I'm coping.
No, there's that's actually a very big reality. We're okay, so I'm not trying to minimize the fact that people are going to suffer and it's going to be
Yes,
bad.
let me be
Bad,
clear. People will suffer. People are gonna fucking die. Straight
yeah.
up.
But
It's not gonna be good.
bad compared to what? And I'm good. No matter, I can hear what I'm about to say, and it's going to sound like I'm minimizing, and I'm not. But almost everybody in history has probably lived in circumstances that are close to as rough as what we're about to. I think we lived in a very uniquely free and happy society. Not many times on Earth were people as happy and free to be who they were as we were. Um, a lot of people through history have dealt with tyrannical governments, with
I'm
you
gonna put
know,
an asterisk at what you're saying and saying for white people. But yes, you know.
yeah. I mean, okay, I'm not saying that was the story of America for sure.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like within the last few decades, and even then, I know a huge asterisk belongs next to that. But even minorities, comparatively, they had a super shitty time. But by comparison, it was better than in a lot of other times, depending on who you were and where you lived and stuff. But
I don't know about that. I would say citation needed on on that side. When white people, when America was built, Zod, minorities were not doing good. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about
no,
that.
I'm talking about a very brief window of time, and I'm saying even then it was shitty.
Which window of time are you talking about? I guess I'm confused. Can you give me a date range? Just so I know.
I don't know, last few decades.
Okay. I thought you were talking about. I thought you were talking about like 100, 200 years ago.
No.
Okay. That makes more sense.
I mean, I'm talking roughly, maybe. I mean, to be realistic, probably, I don't know, putting a rough line on it, post civil rights, 70s ish to today, and it varied a lot since then. I mean, it's been drastic how different life has gotten, even since. Uh, I mean, I remember when Christian Leitner's Duke team was playing, a whole stadium full of people would shout homophobic slurs, and it was just considered totally acceptable.
Yeah.
So things have changed. We've lived in a very unique and very brief period of time in terms of relative tolerance. And I know even then there was very extreme intolerance. And I'm not saying that there were very, very, very difficult things that a lot of minority populations and LGBTQ community, Black community, Native Americans. I mean, it's never been good. They've lived in a whole other world that we can't even imagine, even during this period of time. But relative to the rest of history, I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying it's usually been worse. And there wasn't even any kind of social expectation of decency toward those groups of people. At least, I think a lot now we've put on a facade of like looking the other way or pretending certain things aren't happening or minimizing it. But at least we felt the need to do that. And some people could find a way to live better within that environment than within others. That's all I'm saying. I'm
Yeah, I
probably
hear you.
over.
No, I get it. I'm not trying to be too pedantic.
Yeah.
Just to
But
add that, like, some people felt the need to do that. You know what I mean? Like, we still have fucking Nazis
oh, yeah.
today. We still, like, gay people are still, like, the world's bigger than America, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, Native Americans are still on fucking reservations, right? Like, and people are in poverty, and I don't know. There's a time and a place where some people at some time may have found a maximal amount of happiness. I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But it's never been for everybody at any point.
David Hepworth has a good point. Relative to history, it's been worse, yes, but relative to the lifetimes of people who are going to be facing trials, the next several years could be their worst.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I'm saying, I very quickly found myself maneuvering maneuvering my way through that conversation so I didn't say things that sound regrettable or were regrettable.
I
And
know your
even
heart, Zod. I know
yeah,
your heart.
even what I was saying, a lot of it sounded like what I would have said back when I was younger, and I was trying to justify, well, it's really not that bad compared to his. I'm not trying to say that. It should be better. It should have even been better than it was in most recent history. We should have continued on a path of progress to
Yeah.
where whatever gains we made since, the civil rights movement and the last couple decades of giving more freedoms to like transgender people and stuff like that, or at
Y-
least more social acknowledgement, not nearly what
Yeah.
it should be, but we should have continued on progress. That should have only been the beginning. Like that should have just been the first signs of things changing, and it's reversing, unfortunately. I just
Yeah.
mean, I don't mean to minimize the suffering and the fear that's going to happen and say that it should at all, or that there's anything at all acceptable about it and that you shouldn't be fearful of it. But I think there might
Yeah.
be some use in putting it into context that we're not diving off a cliff that nobody else has been over, and we can work in the long run to recover. And a lot of us are going to have to find forms of courage that a lot of people have had through history that we just have not had to step up and face before.
Mm,
And I think
okay. Yeah.
that's probably a lot of our anxiety, is a lot of us are going to find out what kinds of people we have the capability to be, especially those of us who demographic wise are more like you and me. There are going to be some of us who are in more of a position to self-preserve, and there are others who can't. And for some of us, the question might be, how much courage do we show during this time? um, we all are going to have to take some amount of self-preservation measure. You are going to have to stop and take care of yourself and your family, but I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to weigh that against what you do to help other people and help society.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. This is less. I think once we get our heads around this and hopefully put our feet on the ground and get through a little bit of the initial grieving and anxiety, we'll realize that we're part of a fight that a lot of people have been through in history. And it's not to minimize, it's not to say what you're going through isn't really real, but we're more like part of a bigger struggle, and we're more in kind of a fellowship with a lot of other people throughout history, more than we are just seeing our ultimate doom.
I like that fellowship with other people in history. Interesting.
Yeah, like
Uh,
there's just a certain amount of solidarity there that we've never had to partake in that.
yeah, I hear
Sorry, go
you.
ahead.
No, no, I like that. You nailed the landing there, son. That's good. You did it. You did it. I think modernism is dead. Has been for a while. Sorry, we live in a postmodern existence. Call it neo-constructionist, whatever you want. What do I mean by that? The meta narrative that we have delusion ourselves into thinking that progress is a linear thing and only goes one way. And that with the development of science and technology as infrastructure for communication grows, that we would all just become more informed. We would all just become more logical, more rational, more scientific, and further human progress is kind of dead. There is no God that's going to help us out. There is no greater appeal to morality that we can all universally agree to. We just don't have that anymore. Not everybody believes that. And the people in power sure don't. So things are going to change. And they
Yeah.
were already changing, but they're really going to change. So get used to that. Get used to truths and get used to local truths, right? Regional truths, things that only our group of people are going to think are real and other people aren't. I mean, that's already been happening, but it's going to get way worse. So,
That's a big part of this, is there was no curated narrative about what was generally acceptable.
mhm.
Like we before there's a lot of good about the internet, of course, but one of the good things of having a small small like conduit of information that came to us through an official media was that they were able to maintain a cultural narrative about things, say that like the Holocaust was bad. Like there are a lot of those things that we all just managed to take for granted as being agreed upon, except for little niche circles of people. As a whole, we were able to agree on that. And now that people are able to go down whatever rabbit hole they want to, that gets eroded at by degree. And I think that's where we end up, like you said, with all different truths. I think we're well down that path already, and that's part of what gotten us where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think part of why what Trump says and does is considered acceptable and even approved of, or the people actually like it, is because there is no broader social narrative of what's an acceptable level of civility. People are able to branch off, go down the rabbit holes, and basically justify anything.
Yeah.
But to speak, I think there's a couple ways of looking at what you said about progress not being linear. One would just to feel a certain sense of doom about it, or that we've lost something that we had started, that basically our experiment has been derailed and it's over. There's an element of that to it. There is definitely a sense of loss of a form of progress that we had within our lifetimes. It has felt consistent, but progress has not been consistent even within our relatively recent history. Like there were times post-Civil War that there was a lot more, things were a lot better for the Black population, and they even had a certain amount of political influence. And then it regressed when there was a backlash against it. It hasn't been a straight line from slavery ended and everything gradually got better. There were a lot of ups and downs and a lot of pushback. And this one looks like it will be a lot more severe. Obviously, people are enabled to do things that they didn't, that we wouldn't have thought possible. But on the other hand, I don't know. There's a weird disconnect here. I don't think most of our population in general seems to be more in favor of liberal stances on a lot of topics than is reflected in the vote for Trump. And there's, I think, a little bit of a disconnect there. And I don't know if it's that people answer positively to polling questions and then they vote another way, or if they saw something in Trump that they think they can compartmentalize, or that they think, if they think
I
is
think Satan influenced the election.
probably.
I think Satan casted ballots illegally. Which is funny because I'm like doing that anyway. Sorry, you're making a
Yeah.
great point, and I was fucking shitting all over it with.
Oh, you're fine.
Joke, please, but
Blossom has a good comment. Something Democrats need to, and I think this person's probably talking about like just regular people on the ground who identify as liberal or leftist, need to accept and change is their pushovers. Republicans are never afraid to tell you who they are. Democrats are like, let's not discuss politics here and have a good time.
Well, but that's true of Republicans too, though. How many people have I seen on my timeline where they're like, "Oh, just accept it, hey, it's gonna be fine." Like the people who fucking voted for Trump, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's the status quo, right? I mean, yeah, the Democrats absolutely uphold the status quo, and too many appeals were made to conservative chuds that didn't fucking work, right? Obviously, but like. They're doing it because the Republicans have that base. That's I don't know. I don't know. I won't go on a tangent there, but
yeah. So I think that there's something reflected in that. I think it can cut a little bit both ways. I think a lot of, I don't know. There's a bullying mentality. There's definitely a willing to give it but not take it mentality, obviously. Like,
yeah,
Trump openly calling for violence against other people, and as soon as Biden mutters his way through something, it sounds like calling people garbage, and probably talking about specific people, they all like throw themselves on the floor crying because they all got called trash and they're also abused, or Like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that
Like
comes in public
those two brave young men that spoke out at the Kamala Harris rally,
Oh God,
right?
yeah. But there is something where even that whole let's just not talk about it now, it gets weaponized. Like, I don't know. They freak out and even throw a January 6th, but then if there's any complaint about their candidates, it's like, well, the election's over, just accept it. There's one way Hammett Meta put it that that just really captures, I think, a lot of it
I read that
is
too. Go ahead.
what's that?
I've been reading his posts the last few days too, so I probably read what you're about to say. So yeah.
Oh, this is an older thing. It
Oh,
might
never
be the
mind.
same thing, but that's something he said a long time ago.
Okay.
He said the Republicans just go around brazenly breaking the rules and
Mhm.
flouting conventions and doing things that are hypocritical. And basically, the Democrats just run around, whether it's politicians or uh, just people commenting. They're like, "Hey, they aren't supposed to do that. That's against the rules," and nothing changes, and they just keep doing it. Like they brazenly know they're doing it, and either comedians will just laugh about how funny and ironic it is, or everyone will be like, "Hey, you can't do that," and they'll just keep doing it. And then what happens? And we keep doing the they go low, we go high thing. And
Yeah.
there's value in that, but when it's hard to know, like, do you get in the mud and play dirty too? It's really hard to know what to do with that once someone's willing to just flout the rules like that.
Mhm.
And I don't know
Mhm.
where I'm going with that other than I think we deal with some measure of that in our personal lives. And
This is an interesting take. YouTube Punk says there's not enough leftists in the Manosphere podcast to reach. I'm assuming they mean podcast space to reach young male teens and keep them out of the conservative ecosystem. I think there are content creators that have been trying to do that. Actually, I mean, definitely they don't always have like the same levels of influence. But like Hassan Piker, for example, like that dude works out every day. And I don't know, there's definitely people that try to implement positive masculinity, but that is another talking point that people have talked about how Gen Z is voted more conservatively than like any other younger generation in the past, like forever. And part of that because like Andrew Tate is just a thing, and like nobody knows how to engage with them because we're not fucking Gen Z, and so like the even if we had some insight, like that level of influence is just so beyond. Like, what am I gonna do? you know, I don't know. How can how can Zod and I handle that? There's nothing. I don't know. We don't got it. It's not there. Not for
I
us.
think
I'm gonna
I don't
start
have
making
any.
Skibidi toilet memes and shit. Like I don't want to fucking do that. You know, maybe
I
that's what
love that there's like a generation gap. There's a generation gap at an extremely young level. I think that's how fast memes and stuff develop, such
happened.
that my 16-year-old, I think he was 15 at a time, is talking about how all these dumb kids are talking with their slang with all their skibbity and stuff like that. There's a generation gap between
Yeah,
teenagers and other. Anyway,
yeah.
um, what were you saying before that?
Just talking about Andrew Tate.
Oh, the podcast
And
space thing.
yeah.
I don't have clearly any data on this, and I don't know how much I'm really well informed on it. But on a gut level, what I suspect happens more is not that there's a space that the right fills more in terms of a genre that nobody else is stepping into and nobody else is trying to speak to any form of decency or any like reasonable or character driven form of manhood. I think it's more they're offering a specific product that a specific population is drawn to. And I just don't think you can. I don't.
I don't have insecurities enough in my manhood to start a manhood fucking podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say that with the caveat of like I know there's like men's lib is like a subreddit I go to sometimes, right? And it sees like, positive images of like masculinity and stuff, right? But it's like I don't need that. I'm too secure in myself to give a shit. So like anything I would do in that space just wouldn't be genuine, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, what I think there are plenty of people having sensible conversations and nuanced discussions of things. And I think I don't know exactly that fills a space that somebody would call the manosphere or whatever.
Mhm.
And I don't even think that there's a really clear line between it. I think it's just people having conversations about life, and it can probably bleed over into some version of that. I don't think you could have a sensible version of that that would be clearly distinct from all those other things. I think part of the problem is you're carving out some form of manhood that is different from everything else.
Mm.
I think the problem is among certain immature audiences or just shitty people, there's just an appetite for something and they grab that. And I don't think you can like come up with an alternative version of that any more than adults trying to be cool. Like a youth group can come up with some better version of a party for teenagers or
Right. Right. Like, what am I gonna do? Prey on people's insecurities the other way? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess there are people who want to try and probably do, and maybe do a good job interacting in that kind of way. But I don't know. That's not what I'm about.
yeah, it's like everyone talked about how sensationalized news got and just basically it turned into trash.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a couple times people tried just doing a purely informational based thing is basically giving everybody their vegetables and nobody watched it. Nobody, you know, unless you can add some kind of polish or do something that appeals to people, they just won't show up for it. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know either. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. There's a comment that somebody made earlier. um no, I forgot it. What was it? Maybe I'll find it. It was a really good comment, and I wanted to say something about it, and then we talked about something else. I'm gonna scroll up. I'm gonna keep looking. Uh, Damn, forgot.
Yeah. Toxic YouTube punk, toxic masculinity, bad dating advice, glorification of sexism. All those are just easy answers that people want to show up. Sorry, go ahead. You look like you
I
just
remembered. Okay, so I can't find it, but I remember what it was. Somebody was saying, I think it was maybe YouTube punk, whoever it was in the chat, and I didn't put it on screen. But someone said that they came out of Christianity because of Trump, right? And they said, I can't imagine what is going to happen this time around. And you know what? That's actually really an interesting thing, because I don't want to be a guy. And you put it beautifully earlier, Zod. I'm not going to give false hope or false optimism or bullshit or fake minimalist silver linings. But we will see people deconstruct at a different rate and time in these next 4 years, right? There was a big the Christian deconstruction movement is the biggest it's ever been, because in part of the political climate of the United States. So maybe there is something to that. Maybe there will be de-radicalization that occurs because of the radicalization. Of course, that doesn't stop the fucking radicalization part from happening, but like, um, I don't know, there's a chance. There's a chance that people can leave. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that was my thought
David
there.
Hepworth said that was me, by the way.
Oh, thanks, David Hepworth.
And then we didn't point it out fast enough. And he gave us
I'm noticing you. I'm noticing you.
He also said something that captured what I was trying to get my head around there for a second and wasn't getting. I do admit for people who are seeking clear gender norms, the left doesn't do well in making them clear for good reason, sure, but it's unsatisfied to those looking for clarity. I think there's just a certain satisfying black and white. It's false, but people like to be able to put things in clear categories and have those categories validate them in terms of making them feel better about who they are, and then also giving a clear answer that somebody else's fault to their own insecurities and problems. Women are just like this. Society's trained women to be like that. If only we could have this. And that whole subculture is just based on appealing to people's grievances and telling them that things will be better. It's not your fault, but things will be better if you get rid of this unfair problem or that unfair problem.
Right.
And there's no way to reproduce a better part of that. You can have better, more nuanced conversations, but those are already happening. There is no specific manosphere version of that. Those same people who like that are not going to show up and be immediately drawn to or have any tolerance for just a NPR like nuanced discussion about how to behave as a man, even if you try to, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not hitting. It's not hitting with them. It doesn't matter if it's true. It's not convincing, right?
Yeah.
It it has to make certain appeals. And people who are really good at riding the line in between the two, I try my best. You're right to be nice, to be at least socially conscious enough of like Christian spaces to know what they want to hear and what's going to be too radical if I'm ever talking to them. But at the end of the day, I am not one of them, and that's going to cause problems, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm an atheist. Why do they care? They're a Christian. So there's an element of that in the manosphere thing too.
Yeah.
Um,
The,
and can't make everybody be personally responsible for their own actions, right? That's kind of a problem because like what incels are not the same thing as the manosphere, but like with incels, for example, it's like they never ever ever say it's them or what I need to do, or if they do, they make very disparaging remarks about themselves and unreasonably so. It's always this is what women are doing. This is what feminism has done. This is what these broader social forces. This is what all women are hypergamous, and we shouldn't have to fight, or we shouldn't have to, try to break these norms because they're wrong. And the response that we've always given to that is, well, you just need to work on yourself, right? But like
yeah.
that's always going to be a hard thing for people to do. It's hard for everybody to do. So how do you influence that on a societal level? I don't know. You can't. You kind of have to want it on some level, I think, right? I don't know.
That's roughly the same phenomena as a lot of just general right wing talking
Mm,
points.
mm,
Like, why is the border such a big deal?
mm.
I'm not saying it's not an issue at all, how it's handled or whatever, um, but it's it's an easy, it's just an easy black and white solution. Like a bunch of hillbillies who don't know the first thing about the nuance of what makes an economy work or what makes jobs available or not or whatever, what drives prices, they I'm not going to say they can't. It's more challenging to think through that, and it's not satisfying as just to say that a problem is coming over the border and you can stop it. That's
Yeah,
just easy. You're blaming somebody else that you're inclined to think less of to begin with, and your head can easily get around the problem. There's an invasion coming in that's causing all these problems. We can just cut it off and stop it. And I think that's what um, there's a similar form of simplified thinking in there, and it's really hard to know how to beat that. And that's why one of the biggest divides in this election was education level. Sorry.
well, I mean, the thing is though, like, yes, like ignorance is a part of it, but also those people are struggling and are also equally disenfranchised. It's not like they get more rights than I do, right? They're also victims of a greater system as well.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't want them to change or learn or do anything. I'm very privileged to have my education, despite the work that yes, I did put into it and into my career and whatnot. Like I always had an advantage that other people didn't, and not everybody has that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. It's a bit hard for me to, you know.
What I'm saying can sound like ridicule, but it's not meant to be.
Mm,
Yeah, like if you're born in a rural area in the South, you didn't have the opportunity to get an education. You were trained in a way where you might not have even wanted one. And I'm not really interested in the question of whether that's the fault of that specific person. It just is a phenomenon, and
Yeah.
you kind of just have to address it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the people in power would rather have them thinking that they don't have a job because of, or that their job sucks because of immigrants, than that their job sucks because billionaires are eating them alive. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the most basic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 You ready for QAnon too? Let's do it.
Going on too.
Yeah. You know QAnon, right? Remember QAnon?
Yeah.
We should go on 4chan
Oh God.
and say, my name is T and I'm working for the government behind the scenes, and let's just do it again. Fuck it. Why not? You down? Sounds like fun to me. No? Okay. It's not really hitting.
I'm not really sure I'm feeling that right at the
Okay.
moment.
Well,
Put a more detailed plan in writing, and I'll
okay.
review it a little better.
Well, I'll bring up a motion in the next board meeting for the nation of Zidania, which is happening and is happening and has happened, as it shall be.
By the way, have you heard Seth Andrews' thing that I think he put it out today?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
What's that say?
I don't remember the exact. He just talked about basically coping with the situation, but he also mentioned, what if we were able to separate into like nation A and nation B, and nation A could just, like, put the Bible in all the schools and pollute the environment and do all this stuff. How soon would they be coming to us asking for vaccines? And he
Yeah,
wasn't
I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know.
No, I don't know that. I'm okay.
I know that's not your idea.
That's
That's the idea. Yeah.
He said roughly what I said, but it was in the context of a much bigger conversation.
Mm.
I think he's well aware of the denial that would still play into that. But he was talking more about just how we picture this and come to terms with it, and that was just one little thing. And you talking about us having our nation of Zidania just reminded me of it.
We are small, but we are proud. You know, but that's what we can have. We need to return to our roots. We need to return to tradition. You understand? We need to turn to themes of civic duty and national pride. Right? We need to go back. Right? Just imagine Zidane's about like cottage core. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Ah, gotcha. Zidania has the best national anthem, Ilyashana said. I do agree.
True. See?
Everybody stand and put your hands on your heart.
I can't believe you played it all the way through. I was clicking around. I was like, how do I stop this? He's not going to play it all the way through. He did. He did, folks. He did. Damn.
You can't play part of the national anthem. That's disrespectful.
I guess.
I hope it brought a tear to your eye as it did mine.
Wait, we didn't even play the full song though, because the full everyone's in the credits.
Oh, you're no, that's just the full intro one. Yeah.
Okay. So
we can't play that full song before a baseball game. Or what's our national pastime?
Oh, good question. What sport do we play in Zidania? Well, we like making fun of Brad Stein. I don't know if we can do that competitively.
Counter comedy.
Counter comedy. What does Baggy like to do? Fucking watch VeggieTales, I guess. Read the Bible. That's not a sport.
Hey, Baggy, what's your favorite sport?
Yeah, what's your favorite sport, Baggy?
Lunch carrying.
Lunch carrying? What does that mean, Baggy?
It's what I'm literally made to do.
Oh my fucking god!
I
I
just love watching you realize things.
I don't I guess for a whole ass second I thought that Baggy was just a real person and not just a
But you
fucking
didn't notice that
sack
my
on your
lips are
hands.
always moving when he talks? You didn't pick that up?
Yeah, that's still not a sport though. I don't know if you can compete in that. I don't know if I'm satisfied with that answer. We need a real guys. What's our sport? Hold on, chat. Calvin ball. Calvin ball's a good sport. I like that. Maybe we just need to make up our own kind of game on some level. Maybe we don't need sports. Maybe we say fuck sports. Maybe we're into the
Okay,
greater cultural
I didn't
arts, huh?
at first I didn't hear you say fuck sports. I thought you were talking about like fuck sports is like an event.
That's it. That's our sports. Fuck sports.
Oh yeah, David,
That's it.
pickleball. I really took to pickleball
No, come
a few
on.
months ago.
Not pickleball. The Christians, the Christians in the local senior citizens homes have already taken to pickleball. We can't take that from them. Shotgun roulette. That'd be pretty cool. I like fuck sports. I think fuck sports wins for me, honestly. I
That
don't know
is
what that even means. I just kind of like the sound of it.
that is what a Christian I think would assume atheists would have as their national sport.
Fun sports. This is making me happy right now, okay? Pretending like we're ruling a fucking micronation. Let me have this, all right? Let me fucking have this.
I heard that in Zidania they have state-sanctioned fornication.
I heard, I heard they're real good at fuckball. Fuckball backing. My grandpappy, he played for the leagues. He was he was captain of the fuckball team back in high school. Stupid. Oh man.
Oh my.
My grandpappy took us to state. He took it. He broke his
Yeah,
leg.
David says practice safe gameplay. You got to issue proper equipment. It's like football helmets. They always have to make sure they're up to standard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Injuries in fuckball are no laughing matter. It's kind of a big deal. The NFL, the National Fuckball League, has really been taking a stand. Will Smith did a whole movie about it and everything. A lot of those injuries. It's not good.
The Porn Olympics, Punk Metal Tao. That's where the world gathers.
Yeah, that's the world level. That's where fuck sports goes to, international competition. We're by the way, we're gold medalists every year. Okay. We have not lost once in football. Zidania we are number one export. Other countries pay to get Zidania ex-nationals for their fuckball teams. That's how good we are. Okay. It's awesome.
Yeah, the religious right sent a delegation, and they ended up being like that Australian lady with breakdancing.
Yeah, Chris Reagan, terrible at breakdancing, amazing at fuckball. Like, really found her passion later in life. I don't know.
Yeah, let's not bring specific people in.
Let's not bring. You're right. That makes it kind of weird. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
All right. Well, we're past an hour and a half. Should we wrap things up?
Yeah. I think we were big enough Debbie Downers for tonight. Wouldn't you say, Zod? Did we get our wine out?
We lightened it up as soon as we played the first national anthem and Baggy showed up. I think things started taking a little bit of a better turn.
I agree. I'm glad you pulled that shit in the middle with the intro. That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you all coming.
Yeah.
This isn't great times, but all we can do is hang in there and do our best, and we will be here next week. So hopefully we won't be too depressing.
Yeah.
And we'll try to be just depressing enough without being
yeah. We'll figure it out. There's probably still going to be a hint of it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I imagine there will be news between now and 7 days from now where we might, be upset, but maybe not. Maybe we'll just find something happy. And hey, you know what? Leave a comment below. What do you want to see? Right? What's going to make you feel better? Is it more Baggy and bingo content? Is it shitting on fucking Brad Stein? I'll do that in my sleep. I'll do that every day of the week. 8 days a week. You catch me. I'm there. So I love that. Maybe that's, I will say we should get to those books. So that's on the agenda for sure. But for now, subscribe, do the things. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to those who donated tonight. It's really amazing. Take care of yourselves and drink some water. You probably need some. I know I do. That's it. That's all I got. What do you got, Zod?
All right. Yeah, we'll just I hope this was like I hear some of you saying a good group therapy session, or at least it felt good to come and talk to people. Don't just come here for this. If you have other people you can talk to, other streams where it just helps to listen to other people's voices, do that. Find whatever self-care looks like to you, whether you listen to distractions or whatever. Sometimes sitting there listening to news and information can help. Sometimes it gets too much. Just do it. Listen to your own self, or to what you're feeling. Get in tune with it and take care of yourself. And we'll be here next time. And hopefully that can become a part of it if we aren't too sad next time.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
We're signing off now. We're here. Please, all rise for the national anthem.
This is going to be a repeat dance from last week, by the way. I didn't put together a new one, so sorry.
Put your hand over your preferred place. It doesn't have to be your heart. We don't care.
Put your hand over your heart or over your fart. Good night, everybody. Oops, that was the wrong button. Here, let's try that again.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La casa del merengue, la y la casa de la bachata. ¡Hey!